What's up guys, Americana back with another video. Forget about Bitcoin dominance, Ethereum dominance, or Total 3. This is the chart I trust most for timing alt season. It's not even a crypto chart, it's the S&P 500 to Russell 2000 ratio. And every time this chart breaks down the same way, altcoins follow with an explosive move to the upside. And last week it triggered again. Alright guys, in typical Americana video fashion, just take a moment and familiarize yourself with the chart. This is something we showed last week. I did mention it's something we're going to continue to monitor, probably not on a week-by-week basis, but with what I noticed and with what happened last week in the altcoin market, I do think it is good to talk about it again. So what do we have here? Up top, we have the S&P 500 to Russell 2000 ratio on the monthly time frame. What does this ratio show us? When this is declining, it means the Russell 2000 is outperforming the S&P 500. And when it's rising, it means the S&P 500 is outperforming the Russell 2000. You guys have known we've talked about Russell 2000 breakout. We've talked about the importance of the Russell 2000 outperforming when it comes to signaling risk on and times when the altcoin market could see some moves, could see some expansion, things like that. These red and green lines, these are monthly momentum. So I don't have MACD pulled up here. I guess I could, yeah, there we go. So according to the MACD, when did this ratio cross to the downside on the monthly time frame versus when did it cross back up? And when combining that with when we've had a Russell 2000 breakout in or around the time that the cross happens, we've been able to find 3 points in time where we found this risk on window, not only where Bitcoin is doing well, but we are getting those euphoric moments in the altcoin market as well. And this has happened 3 times in a row, 3 for 3 from the 2014, 2018, and 2021 cycle. So just to make this easier, I'm going to pull MACD down, but you do know the reason why these lines are here. One thing I want to show and one thing I want to talk about, it's a similar concept to what we talked about with Bitcoin dominance, is that when that first leg down came in or when that monthly momentum was lost, we did have some sort of sidestep. And it wasn't until that sidestep completed or wrapped up that we actually saw that momentum decline play out in crypto's benefit. You can see that in here. We had this monthly momentum cross, but we had a little bit of a sidestep before continuing down. Same thing here, monthly momentum cross, a little bit of a sidestep, and then continue down, right? A little bit of a sidestep. This one kind of came in beforehand, and then a move down. What do we have here? We have the move down, loss of momentum, and a little bit of a sidestep. You can even see this just looking at charts like Bitcoin dominance. This dominance kind of loss came in, and then we sidestepped, right? Loss and dominance, and then we are kind of in our sidestep right now currently. All right, so this might get a little bit messy, but let's dive down to the weekly time frame. You can see this a little bit better. Again, sidestep coming in here, little relief bounce, even that right there in there could have been it. And then same thing for this cycle is little relief bounce once monthly momentum has been lost. Now I am really messing up the chart here to show you guys. So hopefully you guys can find this useful. Same kind of topping candle that we saw on the DXY, large spike, sweep out the liquidity, unable to close above, which is a sign of weakness. So this thing could be continuing down. I'm not going to pull it up here, but the Russell 2000 had the best day out of anybody on Friday with like a really strong kind of candle with a large wick to the downside. So if this week opens green and looks good and things like that, we could see the start of this decline that I mentioned, which also would coincide with starting that decline on Bitcoin dominance, which would put us past some of these sidestep phases in the charts that we've been talking about, pointing to the fact that, hey, this is probably however low this chart is going to go. We are in the final, move of this chart before this thing crosses back and I draw a red line right here and we're calling for the top of the cycle. Because when this does cross back, I will be calling for the top. So guys, this is a little bit of a shorter video, but I just wanted to show this chart one more time. I think it was really interesting that we had this doji candle on the weekly time frame time up perfectly with when we saw it on the DXY, time up perfectly with what we saw on Bitcoin dominance, and happen on the same day that we started to get some massive pumps across the altcoin market. I've said this from the beginning, right? This simply acts as a window. Simply acts as, are we within the window when we can see these things show up? I've held the answer that yes, we are within the window that we can see these things show up. then we've used other confluences, but we haven't had price agree with us yet. We haven't had Bitcoin go on a massive run. We haven't had Ethereum catch up really too much, still underneath its all-time highs. We haven't had Bitcoin dominance really start plunging to benefit the altcoin market. So in not having seen that play out yet, I do want to provide a little bit of consolement, is that the word, to you guys, the fact that, hey, it doesn't have to play out immediately. We just need to know we're within that window. Then diving deeper onto the lower time frame charts like the weekly, noticing, hey, it's not uncommon for us to see some sort of relief bounce in this chart, in this ratio, as momentum is lost. Same thing that we've seen on Bitcoin dominance, same thing we're talking about in the Bitcoin dominance this video this week, is that these relief bounces happen. We can't just go straight down in a line, but once those relief bounces get negated, once they start to roll over, things like that, that's typically within our window when we see that really final window show up. So maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm making this video for no reason, maybe the top's already in and I'm completely wrong. But at some point you have to have a bull or bear case and place your bets, right? If it does go up, I can point to the fact that we likely are within the final phases, and I want to be positioned for that. That's a risk I'm willing to take. If we're going to move down, if it is going to be a bear market, if it's going to negate all these signals that we see on the back end, then honestly, so be it. I'll go down with the ship. You've seen me mention it a couple times in videos this week. And I even allude to the fact that like there's not really any new information to be covering. It's kind of just a zero or hero moment for Bitcoin and the crypto market. Either it's over and everything we're seeing is just completely for naught. If that's the case, I'll be selling and going back to stacking my Bitcoin as if it's any other bear market. So like I said, kind of at this moment, zero, hero, place your bets, make your picks, and we'll see you on the other side, whichever way it goes. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.